Good morning. I'm so excited to share with you one of the most popular recipes on my website. These are my sourdough discard pretzel bites. They're perfect for a little snack after school, or if you're having a party. Everybody gobbles them up so quick. Sometimes, a lot of times, I double the recipe. You can also find this recipe in my cookbook, Our Sourdough Table. It's the one that I co-wrote with Emily and McKenna, and it is on page 43 of the cookbook. So we're gonna go ahead and make these today. It's also on my website, so you can find it there too. Super simple, let's get going. To start this recipe, you can use a stand mixer. I'm gonna use this Anchor Scrum mixer today. I've also used a Bosch, I've used a KitchenAid. I keep this one on my counter, so it's fairly easy. I'll kind of show you how it works too. But you can use the stand mixer or you can knead this dough by hand. I'm gonna use a mixer this morning. I like to put my mixer on the scale and then I tear my scale. This one's out of battery, so let me grab another scale. Got my new scale. This is the Broad & Taylor. It's my favorite one. Turn it on. I like to measure everything in grams. If you're familiar with using cup measurements and how dough feels and stuff like that, then you should be okay using the cup measurements that are also listed in this recipe. All right, I'm gonna tear my scale and do it in grams. There we go. Tear just means clear the scale. So we're gonna start with our sourdough discard, and this just means unfed sourdough starter. I'm adding it right into my bowl here. If I went a little bit over, so I'm gonna just take a little bit of it out. So unfed sourdough starter or sourdough discard is the stuff you're not gonna use. You're choosing not to refeed it. So that's why we're using it in these pretzel bites. If you wanted to make these with sourdough starter, you can definitely do that. And I have a recipe for that in my brand new beginner guide to sourdough cookbook, which is amazing. Or you can just replace the discard in your recipe with active starter. You're gonna give it longer to rise if you are using that starter. Okay, so we did the discard and we're gonna add in the water. My discard was cold from the fridge, so I'm adding in warm water. Then we add in a little bit of sugar, a little bit of salt, and our instant yeast. I love using instant yeast in a discard recipe. It just activates a lot better. It's kind of a little insurance policy for your yeast. And then we're gonna add in our flour. We've got all the ingredients here in our bowl. We're gonna go ahead and mix it up. Onto the mixer it goes. I add in the mixer attachments here. And this one I like to kind of set in place a little bit. Then we're gonna turn it on. Okay, this dough is looking good. I'm gonna pull it out of the mixer and move it to my clear container. So here is my dough. We're gonna put it right in here and let it rise. Now, sometimes you may want to oil your container. You can do that if you want to. Depending on how warm your dough is, that is going to be how long it takes for it to rise. So this is probably, because it has instant yeast in it, probably around an hour. But if you used cold discard, it may take longer and not enough warm water. One other thing that I wanted to mention as we were adding in that little bit of extra flour is another reason this could be is because of the discard that you're using. So unfed starter or discard can have a variety of liquid in it depending on how acidic it is. So the longer you let it go, the more liquid it's gonna have, the more a little bit of extra flour you're gonna want to add to your dough. I'm gonna go ahead and cover this up. And we will come back and check on this in about an hour. One more thing I wanted to show you. This can help speed up your rise a lot. It's a dough mat. I love it. You just set the temperature right here. And because this is instant yeast, I can set my temperature probably in the 90s or so, and it's gonna help this to speed up my rise, so it'll go a lot faster. I love the large size because I can also fit a whole baking sheet on here, so my rolls rise really quick, and my dough can rise fast, especially if it is a little bit cooler. Here we go, it's been about an hour. Got this beautiful dough. I'm gonna pull it out of the container. and right onto a lightly floured countertop. Here is our beautiful dough. And all we're gonna do, this is the simplest part, I'm gonna take a bench scraper, you could even use a knife, and we're gonna be cutting these into little pretzel bites. Before that I do that, I'm gonna cut this into 4 pieces, and then we're gonna gently roll out each piece of dough. You may need a tiny bit more flour as you do this. That's just fine. So we're gonna roll it out into a log, okay? And then I'm gonna do that with each of them. I'm gonna roll them all out into logs. And then we're just gonna roll the dough, starting at the middle and moving your hands all down along. So you get one nice long log of dough, and then you're just gonna cut these into little pretzel bites. So you can see it's just little pieces of dough. You don't even have to shape them into a ball or anything like that. We're just cutting them into these little bite-sized pieces. Okay, I'm grabbing a baking sheet. I'm gonna put some parchment paper down on my baking sheet. This is important so that these don't stick. The other thing is you want to use a good quality parchment paper because we are going to be baking these at a hot 500-degree temperature. So just stick the bites right onto the parchment paper. Roll it out and cut them up. This is the perfect recipe to make with your little kids. My kids and my teenagers even love these because it's just so easy. There's really no shaping required. You just set them onto the parchment paper. A lot of times I like to make half of them with butter and half of them with cinnamon sugar. So I like to bake them in 2 batches on 2 different pans. So we're gonna let these sit for just a minute while I do the next batch of dough. Roll these out, and then we'll put on our baking soda wash. One more tip about the parchment paper, use a good quality parchment. I buy mine at Costco. I love this Costco Kirkland brand parchment. It works really well for baking pizzas, for baking at high temperatures. Not every parchment is like that. So pick one that's a really good quality. And do be careful, these don't bake very long in the oven, but you don't want the parchment obviously to catch on fire. I just found doing them for a really short time has worked fine. So you could probably use a silicone mat or something else if you didn't want to use parchment paper, but I love the parchment for these. These are ready for their baking soda wash. This is the part of the recipe that makes these pretzel bites so simple. We're just gonna use this little hack. So boiling water, just use my kettle, do about 1/2 cup, and then we do a tablespoon of baking soda. See how that just fizzes and everything? And we're gonna mix that around and then top the pretzel bites with this baking soda wash. This baking soda wash takes the place of having to boil the pretzel bites, which makes them really simple and easy for anybody to make these. Now you could plop them into boiling water with baking soda as well if you prefer, but I just think this is an easy hack, and it makes them taste delicious. You get that pretzel flavor, but not all the work. Ready for the oven. We're gonna do these for about 8 minutes, 500 degrees, and see how they look. Fresh out of the oven, as soon as you pull them out, you wanna take your melted butter and go right over the tops of these. Now, you may think it's a lot of butter. Just keep adding the butter. Use up all the butter on these. And at this point, after you've done the butter, you can do some salt on top or some cinnamon sugar. A little flaky sea salt. I think it's perfect.
And on comes the salt.
These are so crunchy, crispy on the outside, but super soft in the middle. That's what that high temperature will do for you. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you can see the inside. Amazing. You're gonna love this recipe. Your whole family will.